Front of Joe. Oh.
Sawston Parish.
But there's not even any controversial.
It's organised, really.
Yeah, it's procedural.
Sorry?
Come on, got sweeties.
Yes.
You have to share them around.
I was just thinking that. They're like, they taste like cardboard. They're not treats, they're not treats. They're just really healthy. It's future, isn't it?
I know you said you want to start on young lot, but there is a limit.
Just keen, you know.
Absolutely,
We're
absolutely.
going to have a crash.
You're done.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Right.
What's Sawston again?
Yeah, Parish Council.
Wow, you will.
Yeah.
He's not going to turn this into a
Yeah.
Come on, you know.
You always ask me what goes on. But that's generally what you've got.
I've got some old Victorian dolls. That we get. They're quite big. And I've kept three big ones. Yeah, no, there's no value to them, but they've got something relative.
Yeah, try to put them that, wasn't it? Yeah, we're in the process of getting the big dolls in.
Headmistress.
Lead a big doll.
Yeah.
Big little doll.
nearly right.
I could.
You can't sit down and take it on your phone.
I'd like to see him go a couple of
Extra couple of words.
Oh, no, I don't need to sign it. Not sign it, but sign it when
When
you're
you're
here.
down Channel Town.
I know, I just said so. Lovely.
And I'll go nothing but hugs and
Yes, it won't be till June time, isn't it?
You see all the I missed that. When he sat down, I took the towel off.
I'll have to go around the camera.
It's not everybody's done. The fire arm, yeah.
Still short. Yeah. Yeah, they'll speak.
They make bellbirds noise in schools because of the too many children. What's in that?
Yeah, they didn't plan that. No, never learned. That's like the one that wanted to do down the other end of the street.
Councillors in the village.
idea of the question. So with the education in the past, no, not past the kids.
Oh, right, yeah. That's
Of course, it's got the sign.
Yes.
That's going to be about 2,000 people. There'd be no sense at all. There'd be non-passes, trains or bottles. So they'll have to use the park. Actually, I can rent my car parking space out. You figure in London. I can get London passes for it.
Rent your garage now.
I will be when I get a thing. Get a car, just charge $3 or something.
It's actually
Yes. Why don't you go to the ring, because no more than that.
Sorry, Nick.
I can't sign
Dad's arm, are you running that one?
Is that a rib then?
There's some, sorry Rob, there's some in the cupboard, sort of under the sink to the side, there's the plastic cups, got no glasses left. Need to order some more. But they're not plastic, they're actually
If anyone doesn't have a glass, pass that down.
Oh, no, that's easy.
No.
right. Yeah, no, I'll sign it.
That's it.
Well, you can, only 2 members to sign it. If I sign it, I only need to sign it.
Yeah.
Lovely.
That's why
Thank
we're
you,
doing
Josh.
it, basis.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, can we start now? Has everyone signed their acceptance of office?
Yes.
Right, so the first item is to elect the chairman of the parish council. I did say when I took over after Eugene's rather precipitous departure a couple of years ago, that I would do this job for 2 years, so I'm formally standing down as chairman. So now I have nominations, please, for chairman.
I propose Janet Awesome, if she would like to take the position.
Yes.
Sorry.
I propose Kevin.
Do I have a second for Janet, and do I have a second for Kevin? So who are you seconding?
I don't mind.
Well, yeah, I need
Janet.
sorry, I need a seconder. Okay, do I have a second for Kevin? Okay, right. So Janet was the first nominated. I should take a vote by a show of hands.
Do we need to have 2 nominations then?
Sorry?
Nominate.
Oh yes, you can. Yes, you
I was going to nominate Kieran if he was interested.
Please stand it.
Someone else.
And I second that.
Okay. So the way in which we have to take this vote is that we take a vote on all 3, as I understand it.
Yeah,
I'm
Janet
into the guides
first,
here.
yeah.
So the third one drops out, and we then take a second vote on the other 2. As I think I understand that as being the procedure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah.
It's not that, because we must agree that we possibly
No, it's only a
No,
option.
well, no, I did check
okay.
that. I did check that this
Yeah.
morning.
I
Actually.
did, yeah.
I had a recollection. I just have a recollection of being discussed.
Well, we have voted by secret ballot for the chair.
in the past.
If you want to, it's
But we had a discussion before about whether we
discussion.
were going to have ballots in secret or ballots in public, weren't we? And I think we decided that we would have all ballots in public.
It would be, it's just go on.
Well, we did go back through the minutes this morning
June
actually to see whether
2017.
there had been such a decision. And we can't identify a decision to hold ballots for chair.
It was caution by vote by secret ballot, but not chair of us.
So are we voting for each person one at a time?
Well, first of all, you vote for each person, so it's 3. So you have one vote, you vote for your preferred candidate. Then the person who gets least votes drops out, and you have a second ballot for the two remaining ones. Okay. So is everyone happy about what we're doing? Okay. You can do it. Yeah. Right. So Janet was the first nominated. All those in favour of Janet, please indicate. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those in favour of Kevin. 2, 3, 4. Did you vote twice?
No.
Oh, sorry.
No, he didn't.
Okay, 3. Okay.
Of course you did.
And sorry, is that 5?
Yeah.
Can we do that again?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, okay. 1, 2, 3. And Kieran. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right, is someone you want?
4. So I'm afraid
10, 12, 15. Who's not voting?
I haven't voted. Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So, I'm afraid Kieran, you drop out. And the vote now is between Janet and Kevin. So those in favour of Janet, please indicate now. 1, 2,
Sorry.
No.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. And those in favour of Kevin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So Kevin, you are chair.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
We'll play swapsies out, are we?
Well,
Should they use the shares?
Right. So,
Thank you very much.
You just need to sign that before you
oh, sorry.
Don't leave up there, that's fine, that'll confuse everybody.
I don't think there will be much confusion.
Right, so that leaves, to elect a vice chair of the parish council. And do I have any nominations?
I nominate David Power.
Thank you very much.
Nominate Janet if she's happy to do it.
Yes, I'm happy to do it, yes.
Any more nominations?
Oh, second. Oh, sorry.
You seconded David Bug, right? And can I have a seconder for Janet, please? Yeah? Right, as David was named first, can I have those in favour of David being vice chair, please?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And those in favour of Janet being vice chair?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
So 2 no votes. Who's not voting? You and did someone else not vote?
Probably suits it, doesn't it?
Sorry, is that?
You've got David as well, vote for himself.
There's not, we can only do this once a year.
Everyone, oh no, yeah.
Well, can we just
I've got 6 for David, do Janet's
Can
again.
we take the, can everyone who voted for Janet please put your hands up again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
No, he went places.
You're not voting?
That's all right.
No intimidation on the chair, please.
Okay. We can play sources again, mate.
Well, when you get round the table.
Yeah.
You can be out of the door before that's not.
Yeah, I might be.
Right, Janet, you just need to.
Oh, right, thank you.
Welcome to scholarship.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Right, okay, before I start the meeting, the apologies now, what I'd like to say is as chair is to offer congratulations to Brian and Claire for the elections. Welcome, Claire, to the parish. I'm not going to welcome you, you've been here before. And I sincerely hope that we get everything right for this village.
Absolutely.
And
Okay.
I would endorse this sentiment as the other candidates.
And I've said elsewhere publicly, and thank you both for your service to the district councillors, and particularly David, who's 27 years, I think, 28, sorry, a long time. So I hope you keep coming back and giving us a benefit of your experience, particularly on those planning matters.
Well, it's very kind of you to say so, thank you.
Right, start meeting official. Apologies first, please. Okay. Yeah, right, we have the public participation time. Is that... Oh, strange. I wasn't expecting that at all. Right, Roger.
Right. At the meeting last week, I asked the councillor to apologise to the parishioners of this village for informing them about vehicles driving through the village when they do not go through the village. Is he going to apologise for making that mistake?
I mean, as much as I hear what you're saying, but unfortunately, one of the things I'm going to really step up on this is a politically neutral arena. So if you need to, I'm not being funny, but if you need to ask that question, you need to ask that outside of this forum. So I'm not going to have politics in here in any shape, way or form.
Well, no kidding.
Alright? Any more
No
questions?
problem.
I don't know whether
I don't have a
anybody
question.
knows.
Go on,
I just wanted to introduce myself in case
please
you
do,
didn't
Claire.
know.
Please do.
So-
Stand up, make your questions.
So, well, thank you for welcoming me already, and I appreciate that, and I echo Brian's sentiments to both of you for the service that you've given to Sawston. And I just wanted to say hello, and I welcome the opportunity to work with the Parish Council on any issues that come up. And obviously, thanks to all those that supported Brian and I, and I'm here to listen and learn. And we haven't even had our induction yet at South County District Council, that's happening on Thursday. But after that, obviously, we'll be dealing with any issues that come up from the 23rd onwards, when we're actually formally put into place. But welcome, and thank you for welcoming me, and I look forward to working with all of you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. No more questions? Right. Declarations of interest, please. No? To appoint members to the following committees for the ensuing year. So,
We do have a problem with planning. So when you filled your forms in, you all said which one you wanted to do the most, etc. So planning, we've got a maximum of 10, and which we have, and everyone that's on this is their first choice. We've got 2 members that put it down as option 2, but only 1 space.
I don't mind not doing planning.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're happy to do that, then yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely, thank you. That's solved that.
so is it just a notice?
So it's just to note it and everyone's, yeah.
Okay, everyone happy? Minutes for full pass for the 10th of April. Right. Starting by number 236, 237, 238, 239, 240.
I'm afraid it's not starting number, but I was actually proposing that if we want updates on the Owl Cafe, we get them as individuals, not as a parish council, since we have no interest in the cafe as a parish council, since we can't make any contribution to them. And I felt it was unreasonable to put an admin burden on them. So I suggested that we don't ask them for updates as a parish council. But we should all be informed of what they're doing as individuals anyway. But I thought, requesting specific updates from them just seemed to me to be really inconsiderate. That was what, and I'm afraid that's what's slightly muddled in my proposal. Is everyone happy for that to be the case or not?
Well, I thought the issue actually was the fact that we've already taken a vote and discussed it. I thought it was Tony will be able to advise better on this, but I thought
No, my proposal was not a contradiction of the original. I can't remember what the proposal was, but it was an odd one because the parish council can't take any action anyway because it's not concerning the outcome.
I think what it was is at that particular meeting it was agreed that the parish council would ask for admin updates. And your suggestion was that you didn't think that was particularly fair.
Because I was suggesting that we did pursue it. Well, if you feel that that's a contradiction, I can't remember. I thought at the time it was definitely a different proposal, but I think it was slightly muddled.
It was a voted. The thing is the original proposal was voted in, so we can't change it. So there's no reason why you can't still go individually.
I think we should. I think that's good.
Okay. Right. 241. 242. 243. 244. On the next page. 245. 246. 247. Same page. 248. 249. 250. 251. 252, 253, and that's it. Can I have a proposal that Neil and Hill? Can I all in favour?
Abstaining, yeah, thank you.
Mr. Horizon, National Planning and Environment. Right. From page 1. 1, 2, 3.
Sorry, I'm just waiting until we got something that I proposed. I'm not listed in councillors attending, but I did attend the meeting because I was seconding proposals.
Yes.
So I could possibly shout from the other the high street.
Right, thank you very much for that.
Astral projection.
Probably shout from the other high street.
4, 5, over the page, 6, 7,
Oh, I do have an update in that I've made contact with Mary Different, the Village History Society, to propose that we get together to talk about village signs, because the Village History Society is also planning some signage, so I will liaise with her. And I guess I can still come along to a planning meeting.
Oh, yes. Yeah, very welcome. Yeah. Because
But it probably won't be in May, because I've got really quite a lot of other work.
I'll check with you first, or when you've got information, suitable, if you let me know, Beck, and I'll put it on.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And I have a proposer. Right.
Sorry, before you go there, I think I was present at the meeting. You okay?
No, the last planning wasn't.
No.
No, and I think why you have a second holiday.
Proposed, can I have a seconder, please? Charlie, all in favour? Right, the recreation and open spaces. Again, page 1. Item 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Reclamation to full council.
There was a question about the lease, wasn't there? Have we got any further forward on that?
I did approach a legal officer about it. Apparently it was passed to the property, and that is where it stands at the moment.
Sorry, I missed the...
Well, it relates to the lease on Linton Way. As you may be aware, the parish council holds on lease the district, which was taken out in, I think it was 76, and it was an annual lease. And then the proposal which came from ourselves was that the South Wales we want to see them transfer the freehold to the parish.
Yeah.
Which
We were waiting on response.
It was actually a bit of a side issue, wasn't it? So the discussion was whether we could put the skate park on Linton Way Road. We realised that we probably have to go to SCDC as the landowners. But David then suggested that there was no particular reason for them to go on being the landowners, and we could probably get the whole rec passed to us, which would just be more convenient, and then we don't have to wait for their legal team to dither around about this one. But are we
Sorry.
are we going to do the two things in parallel anyway? So we get asked for permission to put a skate park on at the same time as pursuing ownership of Linton Way Road?
As the original lease includes all the houses around, which has to be released from the lease when the right to buy was exercised. So those are all freeholds now. So there's no reason really why.
Right, so this has got come to been supposed to come to the full case that feasible to planning was feasible, then it would be proposed feasible to be a proposed site. So, any discussion on that by anyone?
So should we say that they had a team of people who came along, so they've got Kirsty Keegan, who's got a lot of experience in fundraising and was leading the project, but then she was in a cycle accident and she's been out of action for a bit, so she hasn't been pursuing it. There's a chap called Yestin, whose surname I've forgotten, who's both a skateboarder himself and has designed lots of skates parts for other people. And so he had a very sort of good grasp of what was feasible and what were the different material options and what the sort of numbers were going to be. So he actually had a mock-up which he gave out, didn't he, which was his sort of best case scenario if they could use a lot of space and raise a lot of money. But I think for them what they want from us is just that initial approval that Linton Way Rec is a good place to have it, and that in principle we approve it. It may be that they'll ask us for money, or it may be that they'll be going around doing a lot of fundraising and asking other organisations, and there are plenty of other organisations in the village who might give them money, I think. but they certainly sound, I mean, they sounded very well organised all along. And I think the main thing that swayed us at Recreation is the fact that, you know, we've had people come along before and ask us about skate parks, and it just seemed like one of those things that is very ephemeral, that pops up and goes away again. But I think what we're now seeing around the country, and actually there's different places in Europe that have them as well, that there's always something that's in fashion that means that the youngsters and teens will use a skate park for something. And it just seems such a brilliant outdoor resource, because we've got really not very much for teens in the village, and it just seems like it would be a really good focus for them, and you know, it gets them outside and doing stuff.
Blind.
I was just wondering whether or not we considered as an alternative venue the space that we were offered as part of the football stadium. I don't mean to particularly muddy the water here, but it could be an alternative, couldn't it? And I don't know whether
it's
it's...
out of the way. I think we've always felt it would be an ideal site for...
Hold on, can we, let's just, if you want to speak, you can speak freely, but please raise your hand and I will call you in. Alright, so David?
Yeah, I mean, I think this bit was, I think it's been hard to say, the issue, on the issues of safety, because there's obviously potential for significant injury on one, and it really needs to be in a location where, you know, help can be provided with their house, you know, somebody's using it to
Thank you.
Right.
We also discussed at the meeting that there would be possibility of funding from South Parish.
Yes.
Just to answer Brian's question again, I think our aim is to actually get the football and sport off Linton Way, so it can be a proper recreation ground. So it doesn't have footballs flying all over the place. It can just have the recreation stuff. Oh, and the language. And also it means we can knock down that pavilion. Come very close to it. If it doesn't fall down of its own volition. And then we'd start thinking about building a new pavilion on the new land, and that would be for the sport.
Yeah, just to finally add something, there's one of the things that we suggested Linton Way for was then they can go up and they will discuss with the council the potential, what they can do with it in the area that they can work with, and then they will come back with their plan, and then they'll have a better idea of their costings, and we can go to recreation and we can go forward with it. So, can I have a vote that we do?
Can I just ask, how long was supposed to be meeting these people? Has he met them?
That I can't answer. No, not personally.
I mean, I'm guessing he needs our approval first, and then he'll talk to them about how it's going to work. But I think it's, you know, it's up to us to decide that we want a bit of Linton Way used for it before we involve them.
Oh yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think it's a great scheme. I really do, and I think it's a golden opportunity. So,
I think we should wait until they've met with Alan and actually looked at it, because
it might not be suitable. I
I
think
think
I did go up there.
I think we need to wait and see what
So
the outcome of that is.
Make it suitable if we. I think it's not up to Alan to decide whether it can be done, because he's the groundsman. It's up to us to decide if we want it to happen, and then he can discuss with them how it can happen. If there are any issues that you want to raise.
So I was just going to say, I understand what you mean, Jenny, but I don't think this proposal actually prohibits that, because it says if this was feasible, then this would be the
The last
proposed
meeting we
site.
discussed where it could be, because my point was, they were all talking about fundraising and stuff, but we haven't actually agreed there's anywhere suitable to have it, which was why we said, well, if the only place really is Linton Way, so at least then they're not wasting their time keep coming to meetings when there isn't actually anywhere for them to have it. So this is why if you agree that they can have Linton Way, and then they'll start looking into, we can start looking into the feasibility of it, and then it will go through recreation.
But there's nothing, sorry, just to, there's nothing definitive in this
No.
that says there will definitely be a skate park on Linton
And I have
Way come what
explained
may.
it.
This
all
is simply the
conditional.
first,
Yeah.
It's just that that wouldn't be the best site.
Yeah.
Colin.
I think Joe has just answered what I was going to say. They're waiting for a sort of go-ahead from us, really. So that they, yeah, we agree with whatever. And then they'll come back with proposals about what they can and cannot do.
Absolutely. Janet? Yes, and then what's that?
Well, I would still prefer that actually we'd seen the site and looked into also what other planning applications have to be made, what the process actually is.
Well, we will, but that is also recreation, you know, services and stuff.
Go on.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask, I mean, it's basically predicated on the football pitch that we use there, moving into the new location? No. It'll fit in with...
Well, it depends what size, so that,
Sure.
this is why
This is why,
Okay.
not being funny, it's clear and summed it up, it's a feasibility study. If it's not feasible, then they can come back to us saying that this isn't going to work, maybe we will look at
Yeah.
Okay.
what your suggestion is.
They may come back with alternative
Yeah.
locations.
Okay, I think we've thrashed that one around. So can I,
Well, I was just going to say, sorry, I meant to add this, Brian. Actually, I like your idea of it being at the football stadium because you've got car parking there. There will be people up there because there will be other activities taking place. And we also don't know yet what the planning issues might be on Linton Way and what comments we might get from residents around there yet.
Well, I guess we need to approve it before we start asking
yeah,
some
right.
questions.
So can we move to the vote now, please?
Yeah.
So, all those in favour that we look into this as a feasibility study?
No.
You're saying?
Yeah, I'd say.
Okay. Right. Oh, no,
Next item's a few.
discuss and please vote for. Right, propose that this comes to full council to replace the road bridge. Is that in
It's
the
on Mill Lane.
Mill Lane at a cost of £1,403.43 plus VAT. Any comments? Right.
How old's the current stuff that was...
It's not.
It's not.
Can I just, when this comes as a recommendation from another
Yes.
committee, we have discussed all the
Yeah.
ins and
Right,
outs
that's
and
true.
all the possible
Yeah,
alternatives,
absolutely,
and we wouldn't be suggesting having to spend such a huge amount of money on a road bridge if there was any alternative that there simply wasn't. You know, if we want to have day equipment, we need to, that's what we have to.
Tony.
So proposed, Mr Chairman.
Yeah, we just need a vote.
Sorry, we should propose.
Vote for.
So, second.
Right, all in favour?
Yeah, thank you. Another one.
So, right, proposals, isn't it? Right. To discuss play equipment inspection course for head groundsman. Come to full council at a cost of £333 plus VAT.
£33 over my
£3
budget. £33 over what I
So,
spent.
with this, I know we have to have it done, so I think we have a
Propose
discussion.
to accept.
Yeah, we just need to vote on
Can we
it.
all vote on that, please?
So we don't...
Yeah.
8, 9.
10's, oh, sorry.
Don't confuse me, please.
Sorry, I'll jump ahead.
10. Discuss new machinery for groundsman. The lawnmowers need replacing. There are 2 lawnmowers for specific reasons. One is just so we can get around the grave,
Yes, it's
the
the
graves, and the other one's obviously to the bigger areas so we can move around. The cost is there in front of you. The 3 prices. So can I have you take the first one first,
Right,
please?
to vote to the two
For the lowest
lowest,
cost.
so yeah.
Okay, then that's it.
Vote
Do we
for
agree?
both. Just vote on
Yeah.
those. Yep.
And 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18.
Move something older.
I've done it on purpose to see if everyone's...
13, should I say that I passed on those, I had a separate chat with the groundsman
Oh,
about
yes.
that, and then I passed on those concerns to the Faith Committee and let them know what the situation was. And Mike Garfed on the Faith Committee, I had a chat with them and make sure we're completely happy about everything. Because that was obviously the end of the faith.
Thank you for that. So can I have a proposal that they are Neil, a seconder, David? All those in favour? Or not?
Yeah,
All those agree?
in favour. Everyone, yeah, thank you.
Right. So there's the accounts for the month of April.
Oh, you have new sheets on your desk. All in front of
Any comments?
So proposed, Mr Chairman.
Can I have a seconder, please?
you.
Neil, all
Sorry,
all those in favour? But we
No,
And
that's
abstaining
fine.
because I haven't had a
But
chance
if
to
you
go
get,
through
then
my
it's
reading.
supposed to put your name under it. Yeah, and then I'll send it on.
Okay. So, moving on to item 12, planning applications and associated matters. S/1465/18/FL, rear extension at 28 Tangley Road, Sawston. Comments, please?
I just want to turn this round so
I mean, having looked at the plan, it seems fairly modest as a conservatory type extension. I have no problem with it, so I propose no objection.
Okay.
I concur.
Right, can we have a vote on that, please?
Those in favour?
Support?
1, 2, 3, hold on, keep your hands up.
That's unanimous.
No, it's not.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, it looks like, yeah.
I mean, that's
Sorry.
basically, yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Right, S/1409/18/AD, one number V board sign at land or south of A505 and to the north-east of Hunts Road,
No,
Duxford.
it's Duxford, but we was asked if we wanted to make comments,
Yes.
so.
Yes, so there's a, let me just find there's a CGI drawing of the,
Legal obligations to read out the whole
oh, there's the
number.
A505.
I just wonder why everybody does it.
So that's,
This is for courtesy for
It's a cloud, yes,
for
yeah.
public members, so they know, they can follow it. That's the main reason.
Isn't it easier to follow if you just read out the address then?
Well, no, because you actually have to, because some people ask for the planning, if somebody's got a problem where they want to make some comment, they ask for the planning reference number.
There is actually a mock-up on there, isn't there?
There is, there it is.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's important because the only issue I think of here is it might obstruct visibility, but I don't think it does.
it's not really, no, because it's on the left hand
That
side.
would be the only possible objection.
So that's often where they put the sign for open farm Sunday, is it?
I don't know, I don't think it's
Possibly.
there, it's
Yeah.
almost on the roundabout.
It's on the roundabout towards the motorway, so that's the intervening one. So the next one
So
along is the
the
motorway.
turn to Duxford is often where Smith's Farm
Excuse me, can we, if you want to speak, can you put your hands up and ask, please? Right, what we've been waiting.
Okay, I just want to say that there's often very close by to there all the Bales of Hay, which say you can watch Duxford's air shows from our field here. That's never a problem. I propose we accept.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brian. All those in favour?
I thought you did.
Okay.
That's right, it's
You have that right?
Yes.
Before you write down the names.
Yeah.
very close.
Right, next application S/1458/18/FL, first floor side extension and single story rear extension at 1 Elder Close, Sawston. Comments, please. Robert.
Do we have any complaints from neighbours? Does it overshadow anything? Are there any possibility of noise complaints and standards?
David.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's on that corner, so the extension runs towards the road,
It's
so
a,
there's no real issue overlooking or...
the only thing that I thought, David, and I don't know when we looked at the plans, they're going to go up from that current sloping
That's it.
and effectively extend the gable, and I just wondered whether it didn't pinch the approach to Elder Close there. But if there's no objection, well, I'm not sure there's.
I don't see how, yes, they're already up to the curtilage, so I don't see how it would... Are you talking about street scene or visibility?
I was thinking of street scene for the close behind.
Right, okay.
It's slightly strange because of course it looks like the house is on New Road
Yes, it does, yes,
because the frontage looks like that.
Yeah.
And if you go up the second story, which is the proposal, I'm just wondering whether it wouldn't basically pinch the street. But that was the only thing that I.
So it takes up a lot of visual space, doesn't it?
Just have to say, as far as streetscape goes, I don't think it's, whilst it looks absolutely fine, I don't think it's necessarily the most picturesque close. So I'd say that I might suggest that we accept it because.
Are you making that as a proposal?
Yes, I would second it.
Yeah, so, sure, well, David says, all those in favour? Colin, what,
13. Against?
Colin,
No, I've
you against? All four?
Oh,
Four,
yeah,
okay,
I've got
thank you.
4. Against? I'm against.
Abstentions?
No, abstention.
Trees. S/1479/18 TP to remove 21, 22 and 23. That's like those stuff. Which are sycamore, maples overgrown with ivy at the back of 44 Collins Lane.
Does TP include tree protection law?
Yeah.
I don't know actually. I'm David.
Okay.
It's, well, yeah, yes, I'm just trying to think, no, they are to the conservation where they are, so yeah, they would have.
They must have a TPL.
Yes,
Yeah, so otherwise it would be.
That's gone.
The normal way to look after trees that are overgrown with ivy is to remove the ivy, not fell the trees. And if they've got tree protection orders on them anyway, I think that's kind of a disgraceful suggestion, basically. I think they should.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. You ought to cut off the ivy, not fell the trees.
I mean, I think it would, I think it depends on the underlying condition of the tree. Since we aren't giving any information on that, then I would agree with them.
But it just says overgrown with ivy.
It does actually.
If you've got trees significant enough to have had tree protection orders put on them, then you should be looking after them to the extent that they're not completely overgrown. And I know it's difficult to have it back.
Reject.
Yeah, of course you can. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah.
Rob? Right, all those who...
Do you want me to tell them, or I'll say to them, we suggest the ivy is removed?
Yes.
Unless there's
Yes,
reason.
I think we should get in touch with them as soon as possible, actually.
Yeah,
To say if
definitely.
they've got a tree protection order on them, that's not a good enough reason to fell them. And I think we should, make sure that.
They cleared the ivy off.
Yeah.
I think this is not exactly a test case, but also a precedent. There's an awful lot of type trees around, and I think that it would be important to send a message that
Just
Right,
maintain them rather than
Yeah. 4.
I wonder just before we close this, I wonder if it might be a good idea to inform the trees officer and ask him to go and have a look.
Yeah.
Yeah, can do.
To ask for his comments.
I hope that would happen anyway.
Well, yeah.
It's always good to enforce it.
But it's definitely worth alerting the trees officer to do this.
So, I've had a proposal second that we do not support this. Can I take the vote, please? That's unanimous.
Yeah.
Right, 13, signing the annual governance statement.
Everyone's got a copy.
Everyone got a copy? Any issues?
Yeah, but I just wanted to say that
Yes.
those of you who were on FGP will remember we went through this in some detail at the last meeting to make sure that we had covered each of those items, and we made some changes. But fundamentally, I think FGP's recommendation would be that this is fine to sign.
Okay.
But we just have to go through and make sure everyone's read it and if everyone's happy.
So I'm happy to propose on that basis.
Do I have a
Yes, to
second,
everyone.
please? Neil, all those in favour?
So I'm not looking.
We're looking at the one with numbers.
No,
No,
wrong
governance.
governance. Yes, do
The one that says we have financial
Let's do that
regulations.
first.
So, the item 13 is the signing of the accounting statement, and then Kieran, if you can take the lead on that as well, please.
Sure, although Joe and the internal, or the accountants, have been working on this, and so I haven't been hugely involved. But this is basically the summary in the form that the government require it. I don't think there's anything particular to point out.
Is it worth Sorry, Karen. Is
Yeah.
it worth just looking at the numbers that have changed a lot since last year? So, for instance, number 6 is different, number 7 is quite a lot different.
Oh, yes, that's a good point, because we do, alongside this, we have to submit a thing that talks about the variances. So the main variances in 6 is that we spent 127k on the multi-use games area and 27k on the tractor. So that's what accounts for the difference in expenditure between the 2 years.
So even though it's money in reserves, it's enough to show, because obviously it's just showing for account together.
Which is why also that it shows our reserve having gone down.
So you happy to propose that?
Yes, please.
Can I have a seconder, please? Brian? All those in favour?
Everyone, thank you. And just to say, the internal audit is coming in tomorrow, so hopefully we should get it all signed off.
And then it goes through it.
And then it'll go through to the external.
15, agreed calendar for meeting dates.
It's just, I mean,
We've all
we're
seen
fairly
that.
standard, but it's just agreed.
Everyone heard
Just
from it,
noted, yeah.
Yeah, just for noting.
I think we have to
Oh, actually, we met formally
Formally
appointed, so
approve
we
that.
Can I have a
propose.
David,
Can I just, have I missed the next annual parish meeting date? What we've got this year's?
we do it first Tuesday, mate.
Yeah,
Saying that May.
second of May.
Yeah, that's your leap year thing, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you for that.
No, 15. No, 14. Oh, right, okay, so I just need to make that amend.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, no, actually, this is the things from May 2018. This is for this current year, isn't it? Is the annual parish meeting the first meeting of the year or the last meeting of the year?
Good question, actually.
No, it's always the
this
third.
this-
It's the
this
third, the
meeting-
annual parish one.
The annual
This is,
parish,
Falls into this year.
it does, yes, it does.
yeah, what
Because it's
we-
the last
This
meeting.
is the
The
first
first
meeting.
First election of
Right.
the
This is
parish
the annual-
council.
So it's the
So
public,
Brian's right,
public
Andy.
meeting that's
Yeah.
the last
The annual
meeting.
parish meeting should be on here as
So
the second
second of May
May
2019.
Yes, yeah.
And so that's the annual parish meeting, not the annual parish council meeting.
Yes.
Okay, with those amendments, can I have a proposer and seconder, Kieran and
Oh,
Brian?
yeah. Okay. Sorry, I thought you'd already had the first and second, that's fine.
All those in favour?
Thank you.
16, to create IT and website for working groups.
Kieran.
Yeah, just to-
Working groups for IT and websites.
Yes, I think that was.
Yeah, so it isn't actually for reference, it's that F&GP proposed, so let me rewind. We've been talking about redoing the website and also looking at social media and whether our current approach is right. And we've also been talking about some IT issues, partly brought about by things like GDPR, but also just more generally that we haven't reviewed IT, although quite a lot of work has gone on since that was first talked about. So this has been bubbling up through F&GP for a year or two, and at the last F&GP meeting we discussed and agreed terms of reference for the working group, which were then adopted by the last full parish. But we needed to wait until this meeting to seek volunteers for the two working groups until we had the new council in place.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm just wondering, given that the working group that create a website has been faffing about actually creating a working group for about a year, whether it would be worth putting the creation of a website out to tender. Because I don't think actually the best way for the parish council to create a website is to have a working group and argue about it for another year. I think you'd be better off getting somebody external who knows how to build websites, who can actually come in, assess your business needs, assess user needs, and give you a proposal for doing it. Because I think also, as somebody with a lot of experience in building websites, I deliberately didn't want to be part of a working group because it was really quite frustrating.
Good.
I absolutely know what you mean, obviously, but I think that my fear is that if we do that, we won't properly answer some fundamental questions about what the website's for and how it fits in. I think
But I think, you know, somebody, well, if they were doing my job, they would be asking you the right questions to find that out. Whereas if you just endlessly argue amongst yourselves, you've already proven that you don't really get anywhere.
Well, but all we do otherwise is argue amongst ourselves, but whilst paying somebody to watch.
If I were doing it, I wouldn't be interested in being paid to watch you argue. However,
Okay. You know, I was just going to say that because it's taken so long, I do agree with Beck, because I think that it's much easier, having seen people do this, you sit around, you talk about it, you're not quite sure what happens, it never goes anywhere, and the website as is functional, but it could be better. If we tell somebody in a brief, this is what we want, then they will go away and do it. I'm sure we know plenty of people who are perfectly capable of building websites, who are entirely professional, and I think that it would be a better use of our time to let a professional get on with it rather than sitting around and saying, do we need to have a Twitter button up here or should we have an Instagram? Because at the end of the day, a lot of people aren't going to actually care.
Can I say something here, please? Yes, thank you. There is a lot here that isn't about website. That's the first point. Second point is there would need to be a spec developed and tenders sought, and that would be the work of this working group, I think. So that would be the point about that. I actually wish Beck would join the working group, because it would seem that the parish council, in the same way as trustees or councillors or whatever, you bring your expertise to bear where you can. The other point I was going to add about it is I seem to remember there's something in standing orders about risk registers and risk assessments for all new projects. We do need to have a risk assessment and a risk register created for this, because that is what we say we should do, and we are spending public money on this.
Beck. No? Kieran?
Well, just echoing what Janet said, I think I come back to, I think if we get someone else to do it, I think we risk it not being useful, and also the brief that we'd have to give to somebody would be too big, I think.
well, yeah, sorry, what I was going to say was I don't think you're capable of putting together a brief, but I think somebody who came in. Well, I don't know. If I would do it, but I don't want to do it in my spare time because it's like a busman's holiday. But equally, I don't want to be on a committee where I'm continually being patronised by people who don't actually know very much about building websites. I've got tired of that, which is why I haven't been involved in the working group.
Go on.
So I've project managed and am project managing the development of websites for customers, and I pretty much endorse Beck's view in this. It's what we've got is a WordPress site which has the most basic layout, and the advantage of the WordPress as a platform is you can quite easily rearrange things in there, whether or not that's an approach that you want to employ. But we ought to see this as an iterative process. We ought not to say, oh, we've got a massive new project which is building a new website. It's not. We ought to iterate the one we've got. We ought to improve it. It ought to be continually improved. That's the approach I would endorse. And actually, if you gave a decent web developer the task of make this better for us, give us the information that we think we need, give us the information you think, I'd go in and do the analysis. This is what Beck's talking about, and work out what you needed. It's not rocket science. It's a really straightforward job to improve what we've got. And then if it's not enough and we want to do more, we can come back and do phase 2 and phase 3 in 6 months or 9 months or 12 months or whatever. So it's not as big a deal as I think we seem to be making it.
I think there's one big related issue for me, which is that we've voted quite a long time ago, I think, about whether we put draft minutes up on the website, because I think one of the things that people most often want to go and check is what was discussed at the most recent parish meeting. Now, parish councillors at the time decided they didn't want to do that because the minutes are still in draft until the next full parish council meeting where we agree them. What some of us tried to say was actually the changes that are made to the draft when they're approved are often really minor changes. They're very rarely anything other than typos or somebody saying, well, actually, I was at that meeting. But for the website to be really useful, for example, you might need to agree something like that, but otherwise it's slightly pointless having a website. So there might be other issues like that you'll need to consider. I guess the other thing is, if Brian wants a website that's iterative and up to date, you may have to consider, is that me who's doing that, or is that somebody else?
It's not
Is it
you,
not you?
it's not you, it's
Is
Could
it
you
not you?
turn it off? You might need to consider, for example, paying for some more of the clerk's time, but she doesn't have time to do that as part of her job because it's not part of her job description. You may have to pay for more hours of somebody's time to update the website. So it does require a kind of commitment to the parish council to actually having a website and disseminating information.
Cool.
I have 2 points. I think, first of all of that is good, but which bit of the council is going to take responsibility for that? If it can't be full council and it can't be, it isn't an F&GP's job, should it not be a working group? And the second point is, we voted at the last full parish to form these 2 working groups with these terms of reference. So we can't now go back on that.
Okay, so what exactly is this agenda item?
This agenda item is to take volunteers
to
join these 2 working groups,
Well, that would be clear.
which we couldn't do in April because we didn't know the makeup of the council.
I think we needed the word volunteer in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think that would have been useful, wouldn't it?
Jack?
I think probably Kieran's made most of the points I was going to make. I was also going to add that I think you'd be surprised how much experience we've got around this table. Not just of building websites, but also of building specifications for them, of writing up web pages, of actually updating them, of dealing with Facebook monitoring. I've done all of that. And also, it's very important that we have users and that it's tested and we get comments back, because a website is not going to be any good if members of the public actually can't use it, and that's really important. And we also need to have something in place about updating it, and that's a huge amount of work, because that's my experience of dealing with websites as much as anything. It's the updating, it's adding extra content, it's deleting content when it becomes out of date. So I think there's quite a lot of work here to do, and I hope people will volunteer and support Kieran.
Yeah, sorry, just I think my original thought in setting this up was not to have a talking shop to spend another year going round and round in circles. It's to do, as Janet said, to harness that expertise that we have on the council, those people who are willing to volunteer, to be able to quickly get to grips with all of these things and get a brief so that we can get it.
Right, for me, it's I clearly hear both sides of the argument, and both sides of the argument actually make sense. For me, there's number one factor is cost. Is if you're going to phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, phase 6, the cost can start. So one of the things I would be very cautious of is cost, and keep a very close eye on cost. Regarding the working group, I think the only way you're going to make this work with volunteers is to actually put a time limit on it.
Yeah.
So for me, I think, to be fair, we've got new members. I would want to see the working group coming back in 6 months' time with a solution.
Agreed.
Yes. I would just point out, as far as costs are concerned, the working group will not have a budget of its own. It can only make recommendations to the council.
Yeah, that's fine. On that matter, I'm moving on. We've discussed it.
No, I just want to ask what it is you want produced in 6 months. Is it a new website?
Well, if you look at the working group, we've got outputs
Where's that?
on each of the terms of reference. The 2 working groups have
And while do I have any volunteers for the working group?
Yes.
well, so there are 2. One to do website and social media, and one to do IT. Obviously, there are some areas there overlap. So, yeah,
Okay, for
we want to
website
do them
first.
separate.
So can I take the website first? And who's volunteering? Brian, Kieran, Robert.
I will fine.
Well,
What's a quick look? Janet, you're volunteering.
You see Colin as well.
Colin, that's fine.
6 of you, lovely, and
on the
IT
second
working
one.
group.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be the same 6.
No,
1, 2, 3.
Rob?
I
Sorry,
think
did you have your hand up
if
or
we
not?
might
No.
I think it'd be helpful to have you on there. Honestly.
I might follow up now.
Fine.
I'm not
What
going
do
to
you want
I'm
to do?
keeping out
Don't
of
say
it.
you're going to do it.
She didn't say it was you.
I'm keeping well out of it.
Not you.
So have we got, so the agreement is that we've got the volunteers. One thing I would ask is, if it's okay with this, if this council is for Kieran for you to lead on this,
Okay,
if you're happy with that. And so in 6 months' time, from this date, I'd expect some answers. Maybe not the answers I want,
Yeah.
but I
We'll
expect
give you
some
some
answers.
I think that would be good. Yeah.
It gives you focus. That's the point.
We'll have focus.
Right,
You
moving
didn't
on.
say for the neighbourhood plan.
That's what we're coming to next. Right. To discuss Parish Council neighbourhood plan, stall, oh, it's just a stall.
Well, our parish council.
Ah,
So basically, as Rob and Janet, obviously at the village fete, they want to have a parish council stroke neighbourhood plan stall, so we just want whoever's going to be available on the day to plan it. So just hold on a minute.
There's actually 3 events. Sunday 20th of May, Sunday 3rd of June,
Which ones?
and Saturday 23rd of June, when we're going to have a neighbourhood plan.
but we're not actually discussing, we're actually discussing who's going to do it for the
the village
village
fete,
fete. So we can only take that item,
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
afraid.
okay, all right, if you like.
So, I mean, you can bring that up at the next
Sunday
meeting.
the 3rd of June.
So, do we
Yeah.
have,
Well, it depends how many people offer to volunteer.
who's volunteering? Well, we've got Rob,
Kieran, hold on, Kieran,
Janet.
Rob, Janet and Jane. Anybody else?
Jane? Yeah?
So that's 4 of you.
I'm afraid I'm on holiday.
That's okay.
If I will be floating about, but I'm not going to put a definite. Right, I'm not going to definite.
Okay, I'll do something with that.
Right,
Thank
item
you for
18.
those volunteering.
Thank you, yes. To item 18, to discuss valuation of the Parish Council the buildings for its insurance.
Right, so on our insurance, we have to, I think it's every 5 years we have to have all our buildings valued for asset register. And so to get our pavilions and the offices, office and pavilions, get people to come out and value. I've tried to get 3 quotes, I've managed to get 2. One quote £400 and one £1,500. Well, yeah, they're the same. Basically, they're just coming round and they look at the building, just reevaluate it, burn down how much it costs to rebuild it. There's nothing else fancy.
So you just propose we accept the cheapest.
That's it.
Yeah.
Want to do that?
All in favour?
Sell this one and start again.
Yeah, it's lovely for that.
Right, to agree, item 19, to agree the hire of Spicer Sports Ground for the village.
Yes.
Kev, do you think I should declare an interest for this one? Because I'm...
You're on the committee, I think you should, yes.
Okay.
It's a non-procurement,
Yeah, I mean, do you want
so actually,
to...
no, you don't have to then.
We
No.
have to let it,
It's not professional.
No, it's not,
As long as everybody knows that that's the
Yeah,
same.
yes.
No,
I'm on the Sawston Parish committee.
yes.
Oh,
Really? Right, any comments, please?
Okay. I presume the Alan's happy with this.
Alan has a few issues.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a long
yeah.
chat with him after the last recreation
You
meeting.
know,
Basically. I mean, we've done all the things that he asked for previously, so he wanted us to get some tarpaulins in case some of the vans drip diesel, because I think some of the guys just aren't particularly careful about dripping diesel. And so we've got a whole bunch of tarpaulins that we bought.
It's trays, not tarpaulins.
Yeah.
It's
It's
trays
the
and
trays,
leaves.
aren't they?
Yeah.
That's what
And
you
the
do to
oil.
protect the ground.
Yeah.
And you protect the tarmac.
Mm.
I think it's the grass more than anything
Yeah.
else. Last time it was all the oil and grass, wasn't it, from the
So,
but they are in contact with Alan.
No.
Yeah,
Go
and
on.
when
Yeah.
Can I finish or not? If Sawston Wheelers, we've been talking to Sawston Wheelers about whether they could get a miniature skate ramp at the fete to sort of demonstrate and get some fundraising interest. And we'll definitely talk to Alan to make sure he's happy with that. But the guy who's built them in the past, Yestin, has got lots of experience and like that, and you know, knows that they'll be able to get something that will spread the load on the grass. But because the people organising fete are the cricket club and the football club, they've got a vested interest in not damaging the ground because they use the ground all the time, so they don't need to be careful about it.
Right, Janet, thank you.
I wanted to ask about the insurance, because I think the clerk has had
On the
to,
skate park?
well, for all the insurance.
Oh yeah, no, I get all the
Yeah,
insurance.
can I ask for a confirmation that you've seen
I've had,
them?
yeah. I've
Have
had
you seen them all?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know, have a list of everyone that's on there, but the lady that's been emailing me all their, yeah, I've had the mountain insurance from
Sawston
Fay, so their insurance covers it, and then I've had individual ones for like food hygiene and stuff for the people that are on there, so
Yeah.
I keep getting them sent. when
They
people
generally
are
as a matter
booking.
of course send
Yeah.
documentation to Jo,
Yeah.
so that she knows that they got it.
Yeah, but I was just asking
Yeah.
for confirmation of
Yeah.
that at the meeting.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so can I have a
Mr. Chairman,
proposed one? Mike?
the only thing that concerns me is if there's a downfall of rain Friday evening, something like that, the fate people come on at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. What happens if Alan says, I don't want it on here? Is there a backup on Linton Way so they know exactly where to go?
I think the bottom line of that would be if that's what they're insured.
Yeah.
And so if Alan, if there was a downpour of rain and Alan called it a day, so you're not going on there, they would have to come off their insurance.
Yeah, well, couldn't they go down Linton Way?
I don't think they would be able to quickly adapt to that.
I mean, it's worth asking. I mean, basically, yes, the situation is very much if Alan says you can't use the field, then you can't use the field. If there's a downpour, then he won't want us to use the field. In fact, I don't think we can get insurance against rain, or it would cost so much to get the insurance. But one reason that we do a fake leak that with ads in it is to try and raise some funding from that will cover some of the costs if we have to cancel it. I haven't thought about Linton Way Rec, but I will ask Alan whether he thinks that's a possibility. I imagine he'd have similar concerns that if it's damp, it will show up.
If you want to go on the useful fund.
Ours is a sports ground, it's not a recreational.
Right, Joe.
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously, yeah, Linton Way's a recreational ground, so it's not used as much. I mean, at the moment, because cricket, obviously we have football, literally weekend cricket, football starts, cricket starts, so it's constantly used, and there's games straight after, so it's quite a lot of time and money repairing it all ready for cricket. So yeah, I think he would prefer it to have, I think he said before, openly, that he'd rather you have it at Linton Way. But the only other thing was, I think when we spoke last about agreeing for them to use it, we said we'd have something in writing that said that obviously if the weather's really bad or it needs to be cancelled, then Alan has the final say. So we just need to make sure we put that in the letter that goes back so that they're aware of it. But yeah, I can speak to them about
It's in all the sports club contracts anyway.
I think it won't do any harm to have
I
a
can ask with him
conversation.
about Linton Way
And
if
Bex,
it's...
if you can do as well, just ask if they have a plan B, or if they would
I
even
hadn't
consider
thought of
it.
Linton Way as being
Well,
feasible.
we know all of the
Yeah, that would be good.
upstairs is a private shop, is all of them. Just start running down Linton Way.
But then I just need to check with him about obviously the ground and Linton Way, I don't know what that's like.
Yeah, that's not going to be as damaging down there.
No, that's fine.
No, that's a great point.
No, they'd have to, yeah, exactly.
Which is one of the biggest fundraising parts.
It is.
Yeah.
Right, so can I have
a
a proposer and a seconder, please? David, a seconder. Neil, all those in favour?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's always
Yeah.
safe, but it's great. Right, item 20, request S137 donation form from Sawston Library.
Does it seem to
Sorry, there must be some more. Janet?
Yes, I do support this. I think anything that encourages reading is really, really good. I would just like to ask a question about, isn't there something about where, isn't there some issue about funding something that actually is already received funding from a local authority? How does that?
There is that count, but there's slightly different. That's if, for example, a school asks for bike racks, we should be paying for those because that is a county issue, and county should be paying for it, whereas this is a library, which is obviously used by the village.
We've always supported it, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just asking for the technical.
Yeah, because it's specifically for
Yes, I
schools and
think,
libraries.
I mean, I think the initiative is separate from the county council run libraries.
I know you've got volunteers as well, so it's showing, isn't it?
Okay, thank you for that.
Do you want to support?
I propose we support.
Do I have a second, please? David? All those in favour? Unanimous,
Yeah.
unanimous, yes. Right, 21, to discuss Sawston Parish Council privacy notice.
This was for the last one.
Did I?
Kieran, looks like you're...
We got one, we did ours.
25th of May, deadline.
I know, we need to have a
Anything
meeting.
to-
We're going to
I mean,
defer
update,
it, but we are.
No, I'm sorry, because I obviously did think that it would be a good idea to agree it in May,
Yeah.
but then failed to produce anything
Let's
to
get
agree.
together.
Failed to be reminded.
Pass the buck.
So we'll leave that in your capable hands.
Sorry.
If we're not sharing data and we don't email people, then I don't think there are actually likely to be any GDPR compliance issues.
Why do it?
The Capalk GDPR thing that we went on has a suggested privacy statement, which I'd obviously intended to bring here and formally adopt.
Also the DPO as well.
Yeah, exactly. We're just waiting.
I mean, we still
Well, we do hold personal data, you know, we
Yes,
hold
we do.
email addresses,
Yeah.
so we hold personal data.
Yeah.
There's lots of example privacy statements starting to come around now, so.
Yes, but I would have thought Capalk is by far the best model to follow because our use of data is so very particular. Well, can I propose that we simply adopt the Capalk privacy policy as it's likely to be the most fit for purpose? Does that make sense, Kieran?
Well, it
And
makes
then
sense.
we'll
It's just
have
I
that
don't
in
feel
place.
that that's a very fair thing to get the parish to do when they haven't signed
Yeah,
up.
absolutely.
No.
I think I'd want to see
I don't
it.
think it's not. I think the fact that we could minute that we have this discussion here, nobody's going to have a problem if we adopt it in June rather than before the 20th of May.
I don't think the Information Commission is going to be coming down with a ton of bricks.
No, I would agree with that.
She's got
So, okay, so
Yeah, and we'll
defer it to June.
apologies, that's fine.
I think it's probably a good idea to actually write some plain English guidelines for councillors about what actually constitutes a breach of privacy. I think that would probably be quite useful to actually, maybe in our IT working group, actually have a discussion of briefly and a brief data audit of the
I'm happy with that.
organisation. Yeah.
I'm very happy with that.
It's in the terms of reference already. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Right, moving on. Correspondence. Thank you for Renee Cambridge.
yeah, just for their donation, just thank you letter.
Okay.
That's very nice.
County Council issues, well, I gave the report at the annual parish, nothing new to report from there. You're not got to. That's it really, I've got nothing new to report.
Oh, yes.
District Council report.
Would you like to report anything?
No.
I'll tell you
What's
what,
happened
we
in the
will
last 2 days?
our last
Go on.
guest. Claire, would you like to report?
Perhaps after Thursday.
I think technically we are, as from today, but I can't tell you that any district council business has been done by Claire or me.
Really?
Yes. It's outrageous, isn't it?
I was going to say, we didn't, for the last little while, we haven't put district council reports on the agenda as a standing item. I wonder whether it would be a good idea.
I have no problem with that at all. In fact, I would actually think it would be a really good idea, personally. I mean,
If the district council,
I would expect to speak, so
yeah,
yeah.
that's fine. Oh. Right, so we'll take that as agreed. Right, councillors' issues. If I start, if you don't mind, Brian, with you.
Did I miss it, or did we welcome our new members?
No, we do it at the end.
Oh, okay. As long as we do it sometime.
We'll be doing it at the end.
And in that context, it's quite a tight squeeze in here. You haven't noticed.
And we're still 400 members as well.
And we're still 400. We're 16 out of 19, aren't we?
Yeah.
Three short. If during the year somebody wants to be co-opted, or even right now, I just wonder whether we ought to consider using the pavilion rather than here as a venue for this meeting.
Oh, God. Could we get somebody who actually knows about these things, not whatever bloody morons designed this building in the first place, to actually look at the layout of this room and come up with a suggestion for how the parish council members and some members of the public could actually be accommodated? It might be, because we tried arranging the tables before, but there were particular requirements that people had that didn't suit it. But could we actually look into what everybody's needs are, and if it means we actually have to buy a table that's exactly the right size to fit everybody, could we actually spend some money and buy a proper table instead of faffing around moving these about, or trying different combinations of them that don't work? I just feel it's absolutely outrageous that we paid £350,000 for a building that has never really been fit for purpose and can't even fit the size of the parish council that we've got in it. And to have members of the public squashed in behind us so that we're sitting in their laps and sharing their sandwiches, it's crazy, and I think it's insulting to members of the public that they have to shuffle in and squeeze in. It makes it look as though people are not welcome, which is just dreadful when, you know, these meetings are meant to be public. But could we actually get some professional advice from somebody who's actually good at their job to make some suggestions for what to do with the space? Because we've got a bit more space to play with now that the Village History Society have moved down, haven't we? We can't agree anything now. Could we have this
We did say before, we
agenda?
did look at it before, is moving the kitchen into there, but then we do need it, we need it for storage, but it was building out the back here, wasn't it?
Could we have it as an agenda item for next time to discuss whether we could get a professional person? I mean, I would drag back whoever designed this thing in the first place and say, how is it meant to work? And can you suggest some improvements? And it just makes me furious. But could we actually get
the contacts?
Pardon?
I did email you the contacts. with a little
I thought I'd leave it to
comment.
let's cross, but that hasn't actually happened. But could we actually...
Yeah, we put on as an agenda item, absolutely.
I think it'd be worth, I mean, you know, maybe not a space expert, maybe a builder to actually look at it and say what you can and can't do.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I want to make sure that we have some sort of transfer of some of the outstanding issues. So, for example, you remember the drainage issue behind the fire station, so in between Common Lane and behind Wine Mares, etc. You were looking to see if you could establish who the ownership was with.
Yes, well, yes.
I wonder whether perhaps we can take that up as clearly critical to the success of those persons. And water's lying in the ditches, Mike's referred to the fact that it doesn't drain away.
I mean, I can tell you what is different in the drain.
So let's...
I know you wanted to an answer as to the dispute in the area, because there is
Hey! Pothole! Potholes!
Did you arrange for that?
Well done.
Yeah, good timing.
There is a God. It's a bit late.
He's doing it at the moment.
perhaps we should just, but it's an important aspect, and they've still got to stop up. So I just want to make sure that we've got some sort of transition from responsibilities for that we get it sorted. Also, could I? Sorry, please. Can I put on the agenda a review of the parish boundary issue? So we've still got a situation with the housing developments on the east of the village and the local plan, which is, I was going to say imminent, but hopefully within a short period of time, a few months, that will be adopted. And we've got this continuing issue where those houses that will be adjacent to Sawston, some of them won't be in it. In fact, the majority of those houses will be in Babraham. In a second?
Yeah.
Follow. And we've got this bizarre thing where Babraham are developing a neighbourhood plan, and the houses adjacent to Sawston will be in Babraham Parish.
Yes, well, as you recall, and I think Janet would refer to this, when we were talking to South County, the suggestion was that there's a separate neighbourhood plans, but for the overlapping area, that those neighbourhood plans should contain identical policies.
I thought we'd already been told that we can't apply for boundary change until the developments actually happen.
Well, we
We
have,
can't
yes.
apply
That was the advice,
Yes.
but I'm not sure that was entirely accurate. If you look at, for example, there's one here, Willingham and Over have changed their parish boundary irrespective of other issues, and it's likely that the developments will take a considerable time to come to fruition, and actually there seems to be time to change the boundary before the developments happen.
But there isn't any reason to change the
What
boundary.
about
until you've got the
David?
developments.
Yes, I mean, I can say a little bit about the William Noble one, so I was putting more or less a troubleshoot on that one, which was quite a long and bloody argument between the two, but basically it involved a relatively small number of dwellings, and there was a majority there was a referendum consultation of those villages, and the majority recommended that boundary, and also there was strong support from the residents actually within that and businesses actually within that. So it wasn't a blank area as this is, that's the difference. Yeah, so I'm not sure that's not really very impressive.
All right, okay. I would still like to come back to that. So if we could do that on the planning agenda, please.
You want to? I'm struggling where you want to take that. Taking consideration that William and Ivorn was a totally different complexity to what this one is. What are you trying to gain out of it? That's what I'm.
So what I'm trying to gain is that we actually, as Sawston, not Babraham, have influence over what goes on with those new houses.
Okay, I think we'll put it on plan. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm happy with that. Janet?
Well, I was going to reiterate what Beck said about it wasn't really advice we received from South Cambs. It was, this is the situation, they would be very unlikely, well in fact they would be unlikely, they would not countenance a governance review without the development being on the ground and the people being in those developments actually to vote for or against the boundary review. So that is the issue. And we did take a vote at the parish council on the issue anyway. So if people had not liked the South Cambs stand on it, it could have voted the other way then.
Well, yeah, no, we voted to make the area for the neighbourhood plan, but we didn't vote not to apply for a boundary change.
Well, except that we applied to, we have now submitted an application for the neighbourhood plan on the present parish boundary of Sawston. So That's the...
Well,
yeah,
so
that's the...
It's getting awkward, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Because
I think what we'll do is, I think we need to discuss planning, because obviously there are concerns that I think we've all got regarding this as well. So I'm quite happy to go on planning and we'll have a discussion at that point. I don't, I'm struggling with what we can change, but right. Is that Bob?
Yeah,
Anything else?
I'll investigate that further anyway.
Okay. Mike?
Well, it just concerns me that nobody seems to know who owns the ditches. I farmed that area for 50 years. On my own rights. My father was before me and grandfather was before him. It's always been with the environmental people, and it must be South Cambs, I should think, because it was all to do with the sewage works, which was down Common Lane. And the water from that area going into the main river near the substation. I've offered to show Janet the ditch layout. If Brian wants to come, by all means come. Because that water's going to go nowhere at the moment.
I think.
I mean, that's the concern
Yes.
of us all.
I mean,
Those developments are reliant on that drainage system working.
I mean, I literally have a copy of the drainage maps that I have access to, but I think Joe actually already has copies anyway. There's there's certainly within the parish council. There's the dispute was how far the award came up, and the records go back over a century. So we're talking about South Kent Rural District. The South Kent Rural District, unfortunately, didn't keep very clear records. I have a written document that refers to land owners, which might make sense to Mike, but I think they're probably even before his time, because they
would be.
They refer to land owned by the vicar, which I think might be part of the parcel that was acquired by the county council when the bypass was built. I have a land registry document. It was acquired from the Reverend Birchall, actually.
It belonged to Sawston Parish. Far end of
Anyway, this is something I think.
But actually, if there's some of us that could work together on that.
I was going to say this will come on planning. So there's two items there. I think that's all. That's going to come on to planning. Then, so and if I could suggest that we bring all information that we can muster, so we can have a real good look at it. For that. Okay, Mike. Anything else?
Yeah, I was going to say it'd be useful to do that for the next planning. We could do next Tuesday afternoon.
Because when you look at the plan, it's entirely different to what's on the ground.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, shall I talk to you afterwards, see if next Tuesday's any good?
Can I just add to that? Would it be a good idea for you to be there as well, Claire?
Brian probably cover it on his own.
I just know. You get to get the feel, the flow.
Unfortunately, I'm already booked Tuesday.
That's fine, no problem. Anything else, Mike? Kevin?
Nothing for me, thanks.
No. Colin?
Two things.
Oh,
Firstly, it's Sawston Wheelers we're meeting next Tuesday, so I will convey the parish's support for their goal of that skate park. And secondly is the Your Speed Is sign, which is what they are called. We now have it, well, I have it working now. I have one minor problem, but the only minor problem is actually putting it on the lamp post. But Joe does have the details now. And going forward, hopefully that will appear on a number of locations. Actually, finding the location isn't as easy as it seems.
No.
There's only one place in Sawston which is a flat bit of pavement, nice bit of space that you can work beside, and that's the one down by the health centre by Meadowfield Road. That's the one ideal place. All the rest are on grass verges or bits of grass. Anyway, so that's where we are at the moment.
That's brilliant, and thank you very much for that. I do know, and I'm sure David does, and I'm sure Brian and Claire now do as well, and the parish council are fully aware. The village are actually now getting to say they're seriously fed up with all this speed that's going on. I have made it clear to some people of ours that we've got to gain the data to move forward, but we are looking basically at getting a 20-mile-an-hour blanket.
It's a very good statistical device. It does provide, it does give you all the statistics.
Yeah,
number of cars, etc. Even down to a small car or a lorry. It does all that sort of thing.
And I think that's
that would be useful around Sunderland Avenue. That does.
Oh yeah, I live there.
People speed down Green Road.
Oh, we've got it London Road, we've got it Baywood Road, we've got it everywhere. So now this is going to be a huge amount of information we can use for it. Okay, Tony.
Just one thing really, congratulations on your first appointment as chairman.
Thank you very much.
It's gone very well this evening.
Thank you.
Pleasantly surprised.
I love the confidence. Thank you very much. Neil.
What's the latest state of play a lot of parishioners are saying with regards to football?
The latest
state of play at the football ground.
The latest state of play is actually, I think you better leave them on there because you're more.
Well, the latest state of play is that the permission was issued around, first finally issued around about the middle of the end of January. We're now past the 6-week limit for judicial review, so
should be moving forward then.
I spoke to Len Satchell by chance last week, and just asked him to confirm where they were. I think the expiry date for appeal was 18th of April.
Yes, that was right. Yeah, that's correct.
So they are going ahead with the development as planned. I believe the start of work.
There is.
Put it on the agenda for the next recreation. Sorry, to actually look at that and look at the parish council litigation and see what.
I think what we could do for recreation, those are more we can't invite them to come along.
Yeah, and go over the site with it as well.
I think we had a presentation from KW Architects relating to the Surgeon's Eye site, which is 8.2, and I think there may be a link between the two.
I believe there's a hills development in that context.
Yeah, well, yes.
Okay. Right.
That's it.
Mosley?
I'm fine, thank you.
Bob?
No. Well, funny enough. I'd like to raise something to go on the agenda about dogs. This is something that came up between Dave and myself and Parishioner. Basically, just seeing about some fencing for some of the play areas because someone was quite concerned about dogs not being on
We
these.
discussed that.
Yeah, but I think
it's been 6 months.
This is well over 6 months. I mean, isn't it?
Yeah.
3 or 4 years ago.
And anything else I really want to know about. So, that's it for me.
Thank you very much. Right. Jane, come on.
Well, I've volunteered to do the Sawston Parish 1st June. I'm actually in Sawston Parish.
So you're off.
I just realised.
It's Daisy, Kieran, Rob and Janet then.
Beck.
Has solicitor been in touch with you about a cunning plan that we were hatching for the Sawston's Wiggles for footpath? No. Okay. It's alright. Because the first part of it, there's a big gap between 2 fences that left and people are dumping litter in there.
Right.
And then as you go further along, where there's a farmer's field on the right, sort of mud, because it's at high level of the park, the mud is sort of coming off that. And so I thought if we just got a few volunteers with wheelbarrows, if we shoveled up the stuff that's coming off the field and made a footpath wide there, and then took it back to the beginning and just put it on that first bit of the footpath, just sort of a couple of inches deep, and planted some stuff in there, it would look less like a litter bin. But I also, there's, actually, you being the person to ask about this, Kevin, on the bit that's opposite Kingfisher Drive, I think it's Drive or Close, on the right-hand side, there's a row of fence posts that are completely collapsed. Is the fence adjacent to a footpath likely to be county council owned? Because the landowner on the right, I think, is the guy who owns that farm, and it looks as though he's got a row of trees and then he's got his own fence.
I'll be totally honest, I don't know the answer to that question, but I can certainly find out and get back to you.
So I wanted to ask, because actually the fence is mostly collapsed, so it would be better to just take it out.
Is the land where the fence is collapsed bare land? There's no property there or anything like that.
No, it's on the right-hand side. It's on the right-hand side, so it's back on the farm. I mean, it's just sort of nettles and stuff.
It might be.
But it's also got a lot of barbed wire, so it's not very nice. And actually, we think the law might have changed. You can't have barbed wire right next to a footpath. So we think we might want to take it out of the way.
Yeah. Not a problem.
But I'll
What sort of secondary
yeah, there's a lot of mess on the left with double fences that people put around because of bamboo and corrugated iron in, so it might be best to go and talk to the guys that people should drive as well.
David?
Yeah, two things. One, thank you for filling in the potholes in St Mary's Road. But on
Personally, yeah.
thank you for that. I have had a few emails from people saying it's a good job kind of in the circumstances, but there does seem to be a lot of grit still there, a lot of loose grit on pavements, and I don't know what can be done about that, whether that's the effect of the dragon catcher or what happens, but I'm afraid that when the runners come down St Mary's Road, they will get a lot of grit stuck in their trainers as a result of that. So, because there is a lot on the pavements. So that's one point. Second thing about potholes is we haven't had the high street done yet, have we?
No.
Are they doing the high street today?
It's high street will be done
Yeah, I know in the past, but are they doing the high street?
Well, it's due to start, they've been done now.
Oh, good. So that's the high street. And the only other thing, because you reminded me about litter, as I walked down the footpath between Church Lane and Link Road, it looked like someone's probably the usual person has dumped their kitchen bin bag into the rubbish bins. And it's a shame because it just means it's overflowing now. These are meant for sort of casual.
Oh, what, so it's a bin full?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it'll be done tomorrow.
And it's got a big bag
of
rubbish in it. So obviously someone's just put
Been in there a couple of days.
yeah, couldn't get it in their wheel bin, so they put it in there.
Why is it something to come back?
Yeah, sorry, I just remembered that I didn't mention this planning application that looks as though it got missed off this time. It might be on planning. But I don't know whether it's timely because it came in on the 1st of May, so it's obviously...
Oh, right, so it won't get, yeah, it'll go on.
Are we going to be okay in time?
Yeah, because I'll get an extension of time.
If you need an extension?
I don't know what the date.
Would you
Yeah, I'll check everyone. Every planning application.
So this is this Durnford Quarry, where we recommended that they continue using the new
I think that has gone
alternative.
through, but yeah, it'll go on planning.
Yes, I mean, basically it's a new application. The first one was refused.
Because they didn't.
Well, it was a very poor policy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that's
Yeah,
for me, a couple of things. One is, it has been brought to my attention, like Janet said, that there is a litter problem that seems to be coming to this village. There's a place around, particularly around the back path from St Mary's going over to where the mine people are. That's full of litter. There's on Hull Road, it's the bushes are full of litter. On Green Road, there's a huge amount of litter in the bushes there. I'm getting complaints. There's litter in the hedgerow and the pathway and near the doctor's surgery. So if we can get that addressed, the necessary. One thing I want to make very clear, as much as with all the leg pulling that's gone on, but the potholes had nothing to do with the election. It was purely the Sawston farmer. That's why they're being done now. As much as I'd love to take the glory, it's not my glory. They came out, they had a chat with the Sawston farmer. It was, what's his name?
Jerry
Jerry Holloway went down with them and discussed the roads, and that's what they're doing now. They're doing the Sawston Fund Run. So as much as I got the leg pulled in, and some, actually quite frankly, some rather horrific abuse, but that's the fact of the matter. The other thing as well that I brought to Joe's attention today, and actually we've got a person that can keep an eye on it, and it's near you, is over the weekend people were having barbecues on Mill Lane Neck. And our road sweeper, our sweepers, I say, don't want to disrespect them, reported it to me, and there were two sets of groups having barbecues on the wreck. So I would like to bring that onto recreation, please. And I think we need to discuss what we're going to do regarding that. There's obviously health and safety, fire, and all that. There was also, and thank you for your comments, by the way, I do appreciate, regarding the illegal gas highs. There was some that was found down there.
Frustratingly, not illegal.
Yeah, which you rightfully pointed out. You know, again, that. So that's that, and that's that. And with that, I close this meeting.
Well, you said you were going to
thank you.
Oh, sorry. Right, absolutely right. I'd like to welcome Jane and can't see her name. Alan, sorry. Welcome Jane and Alan to the Parish Council. I'm sure you are going to bring your skills that you both have, and please enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey.